Hey everyone, today I get to talk to you about one of my favorite concepts in creativity, and it's this thing called divergent thinking. And before I get to some exercises and warm-ups, I want to talk a little bit not only about divergent thinking, but about this thing called convergent thinking. Now, first and foremost, they're part of the same process. You want to go into divergent thinking where you're coming up with a lot of different ideas and possible solutions. And then from that, you want to go into convergent thinking where you're deciding what is the best possible answer, solution to the problem or the need that we are trying to tackle. But there's a couple of mistakes that we can make. First, we can actually skip the divergent thinking part. We can come across a problem or a need and we can come up with one idea, and that can be it. But oftentimes when we do that, that can limit our perspectives and limit our creative potential inside of our churches because we're not inviting people into this conversation and we're jumping straight to our first idea. There's actually a saying that your first idea is never your best idea. So push past that one idea, invite some people into some divergent thinking opportunities and exercises and moments, and then make room for convergent thinking. But this gets into mistake number 2 that people make, which is that they, whether they know it or not, combine the two. And there's a saying that convergent thinking and divergent thinking are kind of like oil and water. They simply don't mix. And you can think of it this way. You may have been part of a meeting like this. If you have, can I get an amen? And that meeting is where you get together, you're trying to come up with different ideas about something that you're trying to solve in your church or your ministry, and someone has an idea, and immediately someone comes and says, wow, you know what? We tried that before. I don't think it's going to work. Or it's too expensive. Or we don't have the volunteers to pull that off. Essentially, what they're doing is that they're evaluating their idea. We're going from, in that short amount of time, we're going from divergent thinking back into convergent thinking. So we actually want to be careful about this because if we do that and when that happens, it can shut down any new ideas. So to solve this, that's why we actually separate the two. Whether it's 10 minutes of just coming up with ideas and then 10 minutes of talking about what ideas we think might be best, we're creating space for people to be there to think parallelly and enter that same type of thinking together. Now, the beautiful part of divergent thinking is whether you have been using this your entire life and you feel like you're the best divergent thinker out there, or whether this is maybe a muscle that you haven't used for a long time, we can start training it. One of the most popular divergent thinking exercises is this thing called the alternative uses exercise. And that's where you take any object and you say not necessarily what it is, but what it could be. So instead of a pen, this could be a rocket. Or instead of a pen, this could be a fidget device. Or instead of a pen, it's a propeller for an airplane. And the list goes on. And you can challenge you and your team to come up with as many different ideas in a given amount of time as possible. It's a super fun way to start off a meeting, especially a brainstorm session. But we can also apply this to our ministries. So even something like a church bulletin or newsletter. Well, it's a church bulletin or newsletter, but how else could we use this? Maybe we could put QR codes inside of it that link to our Facebook or website so people can connect with us later on after they leave the service. Or maybe there's a local nonprofit that we want to go and interview and get a story and put that in our bulletin once a month so the congregation can learn more about what's going on in the community. Or maybe we need to create an entirely new section in the bulletin for our children, just to doodle in case they're getting slightly distracted during worship. Or fill in the blank. Those could be good ideas, bad ideas, but keep it going. So whether you have that space already carved out in your ministry or whether you don't, I'd encourage you to think about what it means to create that divergent thinking time and being able to talk more after about what it means to be in convergent thinking mode. And actually next video, I'm going to be talking exactly about that. See you soon.